Hey everyone, this is Rachel. Thanks for clicking on my video. And I came back in to do part two of Steve Harvey versus Mary Harvey. And in the last video, I told you that Steve Harvey had eventually left Mary and he was now in New York with Marjorie and had sent for all of his belongings from the house that him and Mary shared. Um, and he asked their housekeeper to ship his belongings to New York. Now, when all of this happened and Steve was out the house and, things were completely falling apart, Mary started to find out information that she didn't know when her and Steve was together. Now, everything that I'm saying again is according to what Mary says. Remember, this is her side of the story. And I've included links to these videos that Mary put out. And you can watch the videos yourself and get it straight from her. Basically, I'm just doing a recap of what she said in these videos. So at this point, Steve is out the house, and Mary is finding out information that she didn't know. Now, according to Mary, her and Steve actually divorced in 2005, but Marjorie came into the picture in 2002. And the reason why Mary knows that is because after he left, she started finding documents that were signed by Marjorie beginning in 2002. Marjorie had gotten so comfortable that not only was she signing, things, um, she was signing them using the name Marjorie Harvey. Now, basically, the story is that, Marjorie and Steve, now this is according to Mary, had been messing around since 2002. So that was 3 years before her and Steve actually divorced. Steve, according to Mary, had put Marjorie up in a home, bought her a car, was paying for things. I believe that Marjorie had access to maybe a credit card because Mary has statements which she says that she can provide showing Marjorie signing for things. Mary also alleges that Steve and Marjorie forged some documents, using Mary's name. Now, she says that she has these documents and that, she's ready to take them to court. Um, just a lot of stuff going on here, y'all. Now, Mary says that at this point, she had filed for divorce. She went to the hearing and Steve didn't show up. She said that basically she was there alone with their lawyer. Now, this is something that I find a little odd, y'all. And just listening to Marjorie, I'm sorry, I keep on saying Marjorie, just listening to Mary talk, you're surprised that she didn't know this. Now, Mary says that one lawyer represented both her and Steve. She did not have her own lawyer during the divorce proceedings. They shared a lawyer, which is a big conflict of interest. And it was also a little odd because the judge should have made Mary aware that she was, able to get her own lawyer. So what that makes me believe is that someone was paid off, because in a divorce proceeding, the parties should not be sharing the same lawyer. That's a huge conflict of interest. And if Steve was the average Joe on the street, and Mary was the average Mary on the street, and they went to court, and they showed up with one lawyer. The judge would stop the proceedings and let Mary know that she had the right to separate representation from her husband. Now, it stands to reason that the lawyer that was involved in the case was a lawyer being paid for by Steve, since he was the one that had the money. So that started, all of this craziness around their divorce. Because also Mary says that she has never, to this day, 2017, 12 years later, received a final copy of her divorce decree. That is odd, y'all. Why? She said that when she went to the courts, to get a copy, she was told that her divorce decree, along with a gag order that Steve placed on her, was sealed. Now, Mary says she told the court, well, I do understand it's sealed from the public, but it shouldn't be sealed from me. I am the wife that was divorcing him. So, y'all, something about this is not right. Now, like I said, when I watched Mary's videos back in 2011, and I didn't even watch all of them, I think I watched one of her videos back in 2011, I kind of wrote her off. But when you watch these videos that she's put out in 2017, Mary is giving more detail, and it leaves questions in your mind. Because I'm going to say again, when they went to court, Steve didn't show up. Only the lawyer showed up. And the lawyer represented both of them. Now, like I said, more than likely, since Steve was the one that had the money, it would stand to reason that the lawyer was being paid for by Steve. Okay? Mary doesn't get a copy of her divorce decree. Mary says in her videos that to this day, April 28th of 2017, she still does not have a final copy of her divorce decree. Keep that in mind. This is a little crazy, y'all. Same lawyer, no copy of divorce, no copy of the gag order that he put on her, once they were divorced. I think, y'all, some red flags came up for me when I heard that, because that just does not seem right. Now also, and this is the part that really made me start paying attention to Mary's videos, because during this time, her son Winton was taken from her by Steve. Now the story is out that Mary put her son on a plane without Steve's knowledge and sent Winton to Steve. Now, according to Mary, that is not true. Now, an assistant that Mary had when she was still married to Steve went on the Ricky Smiley show and lied, according to Mary, and said that Mary put that baby on the plane to Steve, and Steve didn't even know that Winton was coming. In that same interview that assistant did, she kind of wrote Mary off as kind of being a little crazy and, disparaged Mary's character. Now, keep that assistant in mind, because she's going to come up later on in the story. So Mary is ass out. She's divorced. Steve has taken her son Winton from her. Now, this is when everything starts to fall apart, because Mary says that as everything started to be brought up in court, when you're being divorced, you have to split the assets. Now, y'all, I'm going to pause here because I want to give you guys, you know, something equivalent. You know how Carmelo and Lala Anthony are talking divorce, and they are saying that Carmelo Anthony is worth $200 million, and that Lala has been with him for 10 years, and they're saying that possibly she was entitled to half. Now think about it. When Lala got with Carmelo, he was an NBA basketball player that had money. Okay, I'm pretty sure they filed a prenup and all of that. But still, they're saying that she's entitled to half of his $200 million. Now let's just think about Steve and Mary. When Mary met Steve, he didn't have anything. He was not the Steve Harvey that we knew. It was back in 1989. He was not rich. He didn't have anything. By the time Mary left, by the time they broke up, Steve was valued at 100 million. Okay? Now Mary says that in the divorce decree, um, that she got $1,000 or was supposed to get $1,000 a month for child support. Okay? She also said that she was to get $40,000 a month. Now, according to Mary, she divorced in 2005. That's when they actually went to court. But she did not start getting that $40,000 until 2009. And she got that for 10 months. So I'm going to repeat that. She actually divorced Steve in 2005. She did not start getting that $40,000 until 2009, 4 years later. In the meantime, she did not receive any alimony, anything. And remember, Steve took Winton from her, so why would she be getting $1,000 a month in child support if Steve took Winton from her? Okay. Also, you know, there was some talk of some homes that Steve and Mary owned. There were 3 homes. Now, according to Mary, one of the houses Mary gave to that assistant that went on the Ricky Smiley show and talked negatively about Mary. See, a lot of things happened that were against Mary that are unexplainable. If Mary gave you a house out of the kindness of her home, of her heart, she gave you a home, why would you turn against her? Did someone pay you to go on the Ricky Smiley show and talk negatively about Mary? We all know that Ricky Smiley is Steve Harvey's friend. It was like everybody was against Mary. Okay? So remember, she got no alimony. She didn't get 50 million because if Steve was worth 100 million, they filed their divorce in Texas. She was entitled to half. She had been with him for 16 years. She was with him when he didn't have anything. So this is a little different than Carmelo Anthony and Lala because Carmelo had money when Lala met him. So they probably had a prenup. In Steve and Mary's case, there was no prenup because Steve didn't have anything. Mary is the woman that was by his side for 16 years when he was becoming the Steve Harvey that we know. When she left, he had done the Steve Harvey show. He was selling his suits, and he was starting to blow up. So at that point, he was worth $100 million. Why didn't Mary get more? So let me just go on and tell you about the houses. So the one house that I told you about, Mary gave to that assistant. Again, the one that went on the Ricky Smiley show and talked negatively about Mary, basically said Mary was a crazy bitch that gave her son away. And Mary disputes all that. And I'm going to talk about how Winton was taken from her. But let me go on with the houses. The second house, Mary and Steve um, were sold. Now, this is what Mary says. Mary says that she had to sell her interest in the house, this second house, to Steve at below market value. So she said that basically Steve bought her out of the second house. He gave her a little over $1 million, which Mary says that the value of that house was well more than this one, little over $1 million that Steve gave her. But she needed the money, so she took it. Now remember, she got no alimony, no child support. So this house was a way for Mary to get some money. Now you got to take a step back. Let's pause. Mary worked in the businesses that Steve had. She was his wife. She ran the businesses. She ran their foundation. That was her job for 16 years. While he was out on the road, Mary handled the businesses. So when her and Steve broke up and Steve went off with Marjorie, that left Mary without a job. No money, no alimony, no child support, no child. So when she was told by Steve that he was going to buy her out, he gave her, a little over $1 million for the second house. Now there was a third home that they owned, and the courts awarded that home to Mary. Keep that in mind. That third home was awarded to Mary by the courts. Okay? Now that was the home that her and Winton would have lived in had Steve not taken Winton from her. So then, with the third house, Steve basically put her out of that. He evicted her from it. Now, even though the courts had given her the house, she had legal rights to be there, Steve put her out and left her homeless, jobless, because remember, her job was to run his businesses. So Mary was asked out, y'all. Asked out. Why? While Steve and Marjorie, his new woman, who had been around 3 years in Mary's marriage to Steve, were living high on the hog, because now Steve Harvey had become the Steve Harvey that we know. This is Mary's story, y'all. Now, let's talk about Marjorie. Since, Marjorie is the thing that everyone, you know, is wondering about. So, my question after I had watched the first videos, the ones back in 2011, because remember, y'all, I said that when I watched the first ones, I thought Mary was just a bitter ex-wife, and Marjorie had came along after her and Steve were apart, and that's just not true, according to Mary. And Mary has documents to prove it. Watch her videos. So if Marjorie was there, it sounds like to me Steve set up some things before he packed his bags that day and left Mary. He set some things into motion where he would be okay and Mary would not take half of his 100 million. It seemed like everybody around Mary knew what was going on, but Mary didn't. That she knew her husband was cheating, but she didn't know that he was behind the scenes planning on taking not only her child, her home, you know, her alimony, just everything from her. Now, y'all, I know y'all probably sitting there saying this woman is bitter. She needs to go ahead on about her business. But let's just think about it as women here, okay? Let's just pause for a moment. This woman met Steve when he didn't have anything. And she was there building him up, riding in cars with him, sleeping in cars with him, you know, uh, running, stealing gas, and all kinds of stuff. When they started to climb, when Steve's career started to climb, and he started to get businesses, because Mary says that at the time of their divorce, Steve had over 50 businesses to her knowledge. Now listen to that, y'all. 50 businesses to her knowledge. She did not get a penny of that. So at this point, let's keep count. Mary had only gotten the little over 1 million for the home that Steve cheated her out of, because the house was actually valued at more than that, but he only gave her 1 million. So she'd only gotten that amount. She didn't even get the $40,000 a month until 4 years later in 2009. Okay? And she got the $40,000 for 10 months. So if you count that up, that's 1,400,000 that Mary is supposed to have gotten, and Steve was worth over $100 million. Y'all, it's not fair. It's not fair. I watched one video where there was a girl that she was doing a video on Mary also, because Mary's story is really starting to go out there, because Mary's telling a lot more. I think what it is Mary's tired of being silent. She wants her goddamn money, because she feels like, she was there when Steve had zero, and by the time she left him, they had amassed a fortune of $100 million. And you notice that I said they, because she helped run his businesses, and she didn't get her due. In today's world, when women are divorcing, especially a woman that was there when the guy didn't have anything, I could see if Mary came into the marriage when Steve was already a millionaire and she was trying to be a gold digger. But Mary was there when he didn't have anything in the bank. She was sleeping in cars with him, you know? And then she gets nothing. They take everything away from her. Not only her child, but her home too, her job, and that's fair. It sounds like to me that Steve paid off judges, he paid off lawyers. The fact that they were using the same lawyer, y'all, come on, come on. They ran roughshod on her, because it sounds like to me, before Mary looked up, everything had went to hell in a handbasket, and she had nothing to fight with. Nothing. And that's really sad after you have spent 16 years with a man. And I'm going to get back to Marjorie. On television, we see Marjorie. She's this beautiful, well-dressed woman on Steve's arm. But, y'all, Marjorie to me was a home-wrecking hoe. That I'm just going to keep it real. She was a home-wrecking hoe. And by now, y'all have heard all the stories about Marjorie, that Marjorie, was married to two drug kingpins, not drug dealers, y'all, kingpins. Two cousins had babies by both of them, was kind of nicknamed in Memphis as Lady Heroin. Marjorie is a slick street hoe. That's what she is. When she came upon Steve Harvey had money. Both of those guys that she had babies by had went to jail, and then she had reeled in the big one. That was Steve Harvey. And she did everything in her power for 3 years, y'all, to take Mary's husband. Forge Mary's names on documents. Watch Mary's videos, because she has a lot of information that she's found out since the divorce, because at some point she said, how did I get to this point where I'm with a man when he had zero, when we break up he has 100 million, and I walk away with 1 million only because I had to sell a home, my interest in a home, to him. He cheated me out of that. And then $40,000 a month, which it took him 4 years to even give me that. And then he took her baby. Now, Mary says that, and then there are two stories that I've heard. I heard Mary say that her and Winton had come home from shopping one day. The police pulled up, and there was like a limo or a town car, you know, how you get a car service. The police told her that they were there to retrieve Winton, and that basically, you know, there was nothing that she could do. You know, they didn't mean her any harm, but they were only doing what they were told. They took Winton, put him in the back of, you know, that car service, the town car, took Winton to the airport, and he flew to his father. And at that point, after that, Winton never lived with Mary again. And also, Steve denies her access to her child. Why? Like Mary said in one of her videos, even women in prison have limited access to their children. Mary was never proven unfit in a court of law. Mary was never told that Steve, you know, was given custody. Custody was never taken from Mary. Steve just took Winton from her because he could. And y'all, I'm going to end this video here. And I want to hear your comments. Do you believe Mary? Because after watching those videos, I believe everything that she said. I'm going to say in the beginning, I did not. But Mary comes off not as an erratic, crazy woman. She doesn't even come off as bitter. I think what makes Mary upset, angry, is that her child was taken from her, and that she had been with a man for 16 years and she walked away with relatively nothing when she helped. And in this case, y'all, this is a woman that helped build a man's empire, and she gets nothing. Ladies, ladies, why do we as women attack another woman for trying to get what is rightfully hers? Like I said, she did not jump on Steve's bandwagon when he was a millionaire. Mary was there when Steve didn't have nothing, y'all. When they were going in the trunk to their change bag to try to get money for food, that's when Mary was there. Why did he take her child from her? Why did he deny access to her baby and turn her child against her? Y'all know now Mary's and Steve's child is an adult now. Winton has to be about 20, maybe he's either between 20 and 22. He's an adult. But I think that the 12 years that Steve had him, or 11 or 12 years that Steve had him, Steve was able to put his mark on him. Do y'all know that Mary even has some documents that said Steve abused Winton? And I know y'all don't believe that. I know y'all don't. But do you know that one time Winton had come back from a visit with Steve? And when Winton came home, Winton showed Mary where Steve had beaten him. And Mary was so alarmed because it had happened 2 weeks prior and Winton still had bruises. So Mary took him to the hospital and then reported it to the police. There is a document on file where Steve abused his child. But you know what? It went away. Now, here's the thing. The case went away, but the document is still there where it was filed. But nothing ever came of the case. That's the point I'm trying to make. So if they photographed bruises, which Mary has a document that said that the police documented the bruises that were on Winton. They said that Winton had blood in his stools. He was beaten with a belt and a paddle. That is not a spanking, y'all. That is overkill. A belt or one of or the other would have been enough. Why did you have to use both? That's child abuse. So Mary reported that, and it went nowhere. Winton was sent back to Steve when it was time for him to go back, and nothing ever came of it. See, there is a lot of stuff that Mary is telling that she never told. She said that her silence, her keeping silent, is what did her in, that she should have spoken up from the beginning. Because now people are saying that she's bitter, that she's ugly. Do you know on online they're calling her a bitter, ugly black bitch and that she's just jealous of Marjorie? Y'all, I think maybe in the beginning when all of this happened back in 25 and all the shit had hit the fan, maybe back then, she was hurt, over what happened. But I think now Mary is angry. She's older and she's wiser, and she realizes that Steve cheated her out of what was rightfully hers, and she wants it, and she's coming for it. And y'all, just looking at her videos, like I said, I didn't believe her in the beginning, but this woman comes off as sincere, very intelligent. I don't see where Marjorie is that much more beautiful than her when you look at her in the face. I think she actually carries herself very classy. I actually like her. So y'all, there's going to be another video because it's all the stuff with Winton. Oprah has a tie in this, and I want you to leave down in the comments what you think so far. The third video is coming, and that will be the last video. It ties up everything. But y'all, I think I want to show my support for Mary. I don't know how you guys feel. I'm pretty sure that there are people out there that still think Mary is just bitter and trying to go after Steve's money and all of that. But I feel that Mary is owed something. She walked away pretty much with nothing after helping him and truly helping him get to be the superstar that he is today. I'm just going to end this video by saying this. It's got to really hurt Mary badly to watch her child on television hooked up on the woman that took her husband from her. Ooh, y'all. Ooh. I, I know I got some sisters out there that think like me. That's got to be. I mean, y'all, it's bad enough that, she broke up the marriage, but now you got to watch him parade her all across television with your child. Y'all, that's it for me. I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye now.